So 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Johnny Reviews. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know the drill. I'm Johnny. Here on the other side of the table, we got another guest on board. His name is Dustin White. Dustin, you want to introduce yourself to everybody here?
Yeah, what's going on, guys? I'm Dustin.
What's up, man? What's up? How you doing today, man? You doing all right?
Dude, I'm feeling good. Yeah,
Awesome.
How about yourself?
Really good, really good. Well, Dustin, dude, I wanted you to come on today because it's starting the new year. Like it's the end of this year, and I started with this whole health and fitness towards the beginning of my podcast, and I kind of want end of the year with this one. And you're a good guy to introduce, especially because you're a fitness guy. And I met Dustin at my gym, which is what is it called? The Mickey's Cast Fitness Center.
Yes, sir.
And it's a really good gym for any cast members out there. I think y'all should definitely check it out. It's doable. You got all the essentials there. And just last week they had a class that they're just they were like, hey, yeah, you want to join this kickboxing class, sort of fitness class thing that they have going on? And I was like, me and my friend were just like, yeah, for sure. But guys, this is Dustin White, and he has. I just wanted him to come on just to kind of get a little bit of insight on what he does for work, and how he got introduced to a lot of fitness and wellness, and why he does what he does. So, Dustin, dude, let's just start with how'd you get into fitness, man? Like, how did you?
Yeah, I think the way I got into fitness is kind of just like a lot of people, just played sports and throughout school. I've always played sports from a young age, and I've always been kind of that scrawny kid on the team or just in the gym and things like that. So I was tired of being like that. So my uncle actually was working on his personal certification while I was growing up through middle school, playing baseball and things like that. So he actually turned one of his spare rooms, into his own gym. And that was probably my first experience, probably within a gym. And he had the full setup. He had like a power rack with the dumbbells, and it was crazy. So I would work out with him every now and then he was actually training me kind of just through like 7th and 8th grade. And then from there, I just kind of, just fell in love with it. Once you see the results, man, it's hard to kind of just fall out of that
Dude,
chain.
you're not wrong, man.
So then just kind of going hand in hand with that, going into high school, the strength and conditioning aspect that comes with like just playing baseball, track, cross country, all those sports. I just love it, man, the competition, love getting better, and I just kind of fell in love with that process. And then from there, it just kept growing into, now I'm going to go to school or go to college, so what am I going to study? And originally the plan was kind of go into more of like an athletic training route.
Yeah.
Just because that's kind of what everyone kind of knows about. I didn't really know anything about degrees or nothing like that. I just figured athletic training sounds cool, so let's run with it. So I was researching all the degrees that my university was offering, and then on the side it said like related searches, and exercise science popped up. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh man, that sounds sick. Like, what is that? So when I started researching that, I was just like, oh man, I'm sold. So I got my bachelor's in exercise science from University of North Florida. From there, I had a couple of jobs throughout gyms, just small time like fitness attendants, small trainer, stuff like that. And just kind of worked my way through that. And, I don't know how I got so lucky, but I ended up at Disney kind of doing what I love and kind of in my field of study. So it doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. That's a crazy story right there. No, man, that's awesome. That's really cool, and everything that, like, I think a lot of people can relate when it comes to like, picking a degree, picking this, and then going into some sort of fitness field. And it gets kind of hard, especially like whenever you're like, oh wait, what am I gonna do with this? And Disney picked you up, so that's what was like really cool. And like when I met you, dude, I was like, oh dude, this dude looks like he knows what he's doing. Like he's pretty fit, he keeps himself in shape and everything. And it just tell me what's the kind of like day to day like there at the fitness center?
Yeah,
at the fitness center. So.
Yeah, so the main part of the job is
put it closer to you. Yeah, right there.
Main part of the job I would say would probably just be like writing programs.
Yeah.
So working in kind of the wellness field, you deal with a lot of people that are either doing the same repetitions over and over again throughout their day. People who sit at a desk all day, they've never been in the gym before, so they're kind of lost when they come in the gym. So that's where we come into play, where You pay the low fee, $4 a week, and you get all these amenities. You get access to an exercise specialist, things like that. So where we can come in and help, and kind of put it to a point where you don't really have an option to say no. Why would you turn down pretty much a free personal trainer?
Literally, right?
So we basically write a lot of programs on the day-to-day. And what that consists of is, say we'll meet up one-on-one.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you kind of about your needs, your wants, your goals, things like that. Any kind of previous exercise experience, if you played sports through your life, things like that. Find out any kind of injuries or things you may not be able to do.
Right.
And kind of what you want to work on. And from there, and it's not an exaggerated assessment at all. It's 20 to 30 minutes, just kind of get what we need. We use that information to write you a tailor-made program just based off of what you want, whether it be 1 day a week all the way up to 5 days a week, 6 days a week. So we can do all of that. And then, of course, the equipment is a little limited with what we have. We don't have the power racks and the squat racks and things like that, but obviously that's not an issue.
It's essential. It gets the job done.
Yeah,
I like going in there. I just get whatever I need, and I'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. We have what we need, so we make it work. So we'll do the assessments, and then say I give you your program, you come back, and if you've never been in the gym before, you're not going to know, what a reverse lunge is or something like that. So we're going to meet up with you again and kind of walk you through this, tell you why you're doing it, what we're working for, and kind of just go over like the layout, the sets, the reps, the weight we should be using, things like that. So yeah.
No, man, you said like a lot of like the corporate life, especially because I think that's what differentiates y'all like from like an actual gym, is that y'all deal with more of the people that kind of come out of the Disney, like corporate Disney offices, and the different. I just kind of trying to see, and for you to explain, it's just like why is it different? Like why is there like a there's a certain wellness center for people that are in corporate, or that's kind of like what I'm really trying to get at is their mindset different, or is it's just like they're very limited in how they think and believe, especially with someone that works outside or works outside of Disney in general and just kind of is more able-bodied. They can be more energetic, and they're more able to lose weight just by moving around than for somebody and just sitting in the office and just doing paperwork. Do you think there's like a difference between both of those?
So you're saying like what's the difference between like say your commercial gym and like a wellness gym?
Well, yeah, like the gym, like because it's open to everybody, right? Like for every cast member.
Well, you have to be
Yes, for every cast member. But I like that it's like it's there at the corporate office that they're there for them, for people that are in corporate and stuff like that. But then they decided to start getting everybody involved. And is there a reason why, like
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
It's there in that location specifically.
Yeah, because I don't remember who it was. It was either Allie or somebody else that works there that says that they specialize in it with just the people that work at corporate and something like that.
Well, I think the main goal of it, and don't quote me on this.
I won't, but it's just
just with the fact of working in a large corporate building like that, where you have 4 stories of people that just work in cubicles all day.
Right.
That's kind of a high risk population. So having something that's right in their backyard where they can walk down on their lunch break or their 15-minute break, and get in a couple miles on the treadmill or whatever it may be. I think that's kind of how it originated.
The idea of it, like kind of like having it there.
The location in the corporate building, yeah.
Makes sense.
And then in a way, I don't live around the area to know too much, but I think Disney Springs is kind of central. It's kind of a central location, so I think a big part of it was to kind of have it where, we're not isolating a certain group of people, but anyone who works for Disney can kind of
go
here.
Yeah.
So.
It's good for business. Like I think either regardless of just bringing more people in, gets a lot more people involved, well known, especially because I did the 5Ks and I missed this last one, but I was like, darn it, dude, I really wanted to do it.
So fun.
Yeah, dude, I know they are so fun. 5Ks are good, like because I'm not a big long distance runner, but I like 5Ks, and I just think it's just like a good workout. Yeah. And but see, even then, I like just where it is, where it is like. Everybody knows where Disney Springs is, like you said. So it's like, it's kind of like in a downtown area for Disney, and that's good. Like, So, and then getting back to the point where you were saying, like, do you think the hardest thing for somebody to do is to have a good regiment and a list of things that they need to do, kind of like workouts and stuff like that for just a normal average Joe? Like, do you think that's the hardest thing to do? And like, because I think you're specialized in that sort of like where you just kind of tell them
like
boom,
programming.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing for most people is honestly just getting to the gym. Once you're at the gym, right, most people can walk on the treadmill. Or what if they really had a goal to lose weight?
Right.
They can do their own research into the benefits of different exercises and what they could do on the treadmill or different cardio equipment if they wanted to. So I think us being there is definitely a complementary kind of asset to people's goals and their wants. But I think just getting them there would probably be the hardest part. And I think a lot of people can kind of relate with that is when you don't want to do something, the hardest step is just taking that first step. And then once you get going,
it's like that good momentum, like right behind you.
Ball rolling, so.
Man. I'd see. I don't know, man. Especially like that. Like that's always good to have. Is if you don't know how to do it, like pay somebody to do it for you. Mm-hmm. And I mean, y'all can already like check that off for yourself. And I just want to ask you, like, what do you like? I don't. You said that you had trouble like gaining weight, or like because you were always a scrawny kid.
Yeah.
Do you think that has a lot to do with like weight gain, weight loss? If you're trying to really build, or you're trying to just kind of knowing what you're eating, knowing what your diet is, and I mean, I know like we're more on the fitness side of anything, but I mean, like incorporating that day to day.
Yeah.
Do you think that's an important
thing? About just prescribing certain exercises and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that plays a huge role. If you're trying to put on mass, obviously, if you go to the gym and walk on the treadmill every day, right, you're not going to get big.
Right.
I think the biggest part that comes down to that is, once you start lifting weights and you're eating a surplus of calories, you're gonna get big no matter what.
Right.
I think my hardest part with that was just the eating portion. I never really had a problem with, getting to the gym and working out. It was more of a, how do I keep myself in a surplus of calories every single day kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's benefits to knowing what you're doing when you're in the gym rather than just doing, 5 sets of leg press and leaving or doing like,
right,
the squat and then moving on to whatever it may be kind of thing.
So, and that like that right there, I think what I'm really trying to relate is like there's people that don't have a lot of like a good motivation to get to the gym, and I think that's hard to kind of pinpoint who it is and how to really differentiate those people that are good. Let's just say because you were good at getting yourself to the gym, but I'm like, man, if people knew like the easy part is probably getting there. Maybe once you get there, it's just kind of like keep pursuing it day to day. And part of your I say your job title is kind of like motivate people. How do you do that? How do you keep everybody?
Man.
Yeah.
Man, that's a good question.
It is because everybody, and that's what I try to do here is just kind of like inform people, but tell people like it's not that hard. Yeah. But I like for you because you're more hands on with people there. How do you keep them motivated?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say I'm the type of guy to be in your face and just scream at you to keep you motivated. I guess one of the things that I do is I guess kind of just like a passion when you talk to me and you talk to me about your goals and kind of what you're here for. You really person like yeah. And you can talk to me about this stuff and I can actually listen to you and respond with answers rather than just responding with whatever's on my head first. I think that kind of means a lot to people. And when people come in and tell you they can't stand taking the medications they're on because their blood pressure is too high or all these things, and that's why they're in the gym exercising, but they don't know what to do. And you're seeing them day in and day out, and you're just continuously kind of asking about their progress and their family and how things are going with them. I think keeping that interest in them keeps them motivated, not only to come back and see you, but to give them hope that someone does care for them. Right. They're not in this kind of alone, if that makes sense. So I kind of use that route rather than, screaming in your face. And don't get me wrong, if you're in my class and we're kickboxing or something, I will give a couple punchliners there to push past it.
Yeah.
But, I think just kind of caring for someone and kind of listening to respond kind of works for me the best.
Right.
So
I mean, more power to you. Like, I don't deny that route at all.
Yeah.
Like, I think we just being in sports, I think you can just tell the difference between like those types of like ways of motivating, and then the other types where it's just people like, hey, it's okay, just get yourself back up. So
that was my coach in high school. He was the guy that was just screaming across the track, and it was, don't get me wrong, it was motivating, man, but I couldn't do that.
Right. It's like, and that's the way, like, I think it just goes back on like how people learn, but how people like can actually comprehend and deal with things and stuff like that.
For sure.
And so from there, I'm like, I try to ask people, it's like, because it's a good way to learn. Also, like, I can take that and use that for people that, let's just say, aren't as like hard to get through, and they're just like, oh, okay, you can easily just tell them you can get your goals done by doing this sort of thing, and just kind of talk to them and stuff.
Definitely.
And that's definitely a big key thing to have, is just to really empathize with people when it comes to like their fitness, because they're very uncomfortable. They don't know what they're doing, and they go to you for help, and it doesn't help like for you to just chop them up into pieces and tell them like, oh, you're going to be sore the next day, and just
exactly. And you got to think the majority of people that come into the gym, especially Mickey's, man, they already have this kind of self-doubt.
Yes.
They don't know what they're doing. They're not happy with themselves, and
well, they have a lot of. I've seen like them have like a lot of questions, or they just kind of like hover around you guys because like they have like a really good story of like, hey, what if this sort of happened? And I see you on action, dude. Like I know like you're always busy with other people, so that's why I'm like, okay, this would be a really good question, especially because I know you and maybe like Allie or anybody else there would probably have like different ways to go about it, but overall I think you have the same amount of people that go up to you and ask you all these different things, and I mean, respectable. That's very respectable right there.
A big piece of that is just kind of, like I said, just kind of being there for people, talking to them.
Right.
You can sit there and just hold conversation all day long in a gym, but if you just genuinely just don't care for the person, I feel like they can sense it. But then when you actually have that kind of that passion or drive for them as well, and you show that you care for them, they're willing to come up and talk to you and kind of put themselves out of their comfort zone to ask you questions, to see how they can do better, things like that.
Right.
So it's rewarding.
Dude, yeah. But do you think, are y'all gonna get more traction like towards like the beginning of the year? Do you think?
The new year?
Yeah, because I mean,
yeah, I would think so for sure. There's a little debate going on right now because we were extremely busy last month. This month has kind of died down a little bit, and of course, because it's the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
And there's kind of two sides to the story. It's like January is always going to be busy in any gym you go to, but at the same time, we work at Disney, and it's still the holidays. So a lot of people are saying kind of these hours that the cast members are going to be working, it's going to kind of counteract the New Year's resolutioners. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. I don't know if the hours that people are going to be working is going to have an effect on that or not.
Yeah. No, dude. And I think, because I've been to like at least 3 gyms here, and so like I can just see the difference between each one. Yeah. It's just, I mean, this one's more convenient. I can just get my job and go get it. Yeah. I'm active and then whatever. But definitely, I think there would be more traction. I think more people want to be fit, want to be a good, healthy size, and just I think that all kind of like relates to what their end goal is, what they want to do, and all this other stuff. Oh. And so I wanted to get a little into like sort of your kickboxing and stuff like that. You said you've been doing it for like 7 months and stuff. Yeah. How did you get into that?
It's a crazy story. So after graduating college, I actually had this internship in Dallas, Texas, that I went to pursue. Yeah. Is that where you're from?
Yeah, dude, I'm from Fort Worth.
Oh, sick.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, we talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
it was like
awesome.
A little.
Yep. So I lived out there for 3 months, man, and that was probably the best summer of my life. It flew by so fast, and probably with like 2 weeks remaining, I was like, oh, man, I'm about to have to leave to go graduate, and I don't have anything lined up after this.
Right.
So after my graduation, I just moved back home, and home is Lakeland, right down the road.
Yeah.
So from there, I was just kind of applying to jobs all over Tampa, Orlando, not really getting a lot back because all these gyms, they want someone with experience.
Right.
And how do you have experience when you're coming out of college? And I was applying for like strength and conditioning coaches and things like that. So I get where they want the experience. So I just got really frustrated. We had this new gym open up in Lakeland, so I figured, why not apply for that?
Why not? Yeah.
I'm not going to say where it was at, but man, I didn't like it.
It's okay.
It was a commercial gym. Commercial gyms, man, they're just different. It's a different atmosphere.
Understand.
You're around different people. There's a lot of egos. So it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
So I got out of there. I applied for this kickboxing position. Paid me double. Didn't know what I was doing.
Wow.
Free training. So I was like, man, this is too good to not pass up, or to pass up. So I was like, why not? If anything, I'll work there for a couple months.
See how
put it on my
goes,
resume and dip. But it ended up being pretty good, man. I learned a lot. It was at a pretty well recognized kickboxing studio. Completely put me out of my comfort zone.
Right.
I think if you talk to anyone that I was in high school with or went to school with, they would say, man, you're teaching classes, you're mic'd up, you're screaming in a microphone, instructing like 20, 30 people at a time.
Yeah.
They would laugh at you. But I think that really kind of broke me out of my shell, just having that microphone and kind of being surrounded by that many people.
Right.
So yeah, man, I got the free training there. I worked there for about 7 or 8 months or so. And then, not to go back to Disney, but it was crazy because that kickboxing studio just was in a bad location.
Right.
Shut down on me blindly. Didn't get no heads up or nothing. 2 days later, Disney calls me. It's like, hey, you ready to start early?
Dude, that was meant to happen.
Yeah, so I was like, dude, that's crazy.
That is crazy, dude.
So in my interview, of course, I had the kickboxing on my resume and everything. And they're like, oh, man, you kickbox, you have certification, all this stuff. And I was just like, yeah, just going with it, not thinking anything of it. And they're like, we've been looking for someone for so long just to teach our kickboxing classes around property.
That's awesome.
So
that is awesome.
Yeah, I truly believe that things like that definitely happen for a reason.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, dude, that is awesome. Especially because that first day when we went, like it was like last week or something. Or me and Tommy just went. And we're like, yeah, you want to go to this kickboxing class? And don't misconclude things because it's like. It is sort of like kickboxing, but with a rhythm. So like, and then
it's like cardio kickboxing.
It's like cardio kickboxing, and it's like I can understand the difference between the actual kickboxing and like this actual one. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't supposed to be like meant for like people that know or don't know how to kickbox or anything like that. It's just like it's just a way to get active, start. Getting your blood pumping, getting loose and like having some form to it and stuff. And that, no, dude, it was actually, I felt it like towards the end and I was like, oh my gosh, it was 30 minutes.
Yeah,
oh
man.
God, dude.
People underestimate the 30-minute.
Dude, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But okay. So like even then, like, okay, so you do have a little bit of a background on sports in general, and now you have a little bit of like kickboxing and stuff like that. Do you think there is a difference between like the training between like a sports, like a group sport and a single person sport? Like, do you think that there is a big difference between like the training, how it kind of like benefits you?
In terms of, are you looking out of like the coach's eyes, or are you looking out of like the athlete's eyes?
So in an athlete's eyes, and then we can talk about the coach's eyes. Just I think more on like the perspective both of us do, and we've done both, and then you can kind of differentiate between that. So like yes, on the more of the on the student.
Okay, I mean I think either way you're gonna have that. If you have that drive, I think to play sports and things like that. Whether it's individual or team, I would hope that you at least have that motivation to kind of, push through and get better. So in a way, I don't think there's much of a difference in kind of training for a team sport versus an individual sport, because you're still going to have that same. I would hope that you still have that same drive to get better, like I was saying. Okay, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Looking at it out of a coach's eyes, I mean, obviously there's all kinds of different things. If you're prescribing for, a team, you might be prescribing an exercise for, not the entire team, but you're going to break it down into sections. So you might have, like your linemen versus like your running backs. They're not going to be training together, right? They're going to have two separate programs.
Two separate ones, yeah.
So in a way, that would be different, but at the same time, it's still individualized. So I don't think a lot really changes on if you're playing a team sport or individual sport,
right?
Whether it be your motivation or not. You might be a little more motivated if you were solo,
like
yeah,
sense, I know exactly what you mean. Like I think because track stars, because like it just depends on like if you're a really good long distance runner, pole vaulter, anything like that. I think you tend to shine whenever it's just you alone. And but I mean, you got a group, and you're doing really well, you excel, you start getting really pumped and motivated whenever your group does good, so you feel good, and like that will go with like baseball or football or something like that. I think that goes a long way. I think that definitely does something to your mind. I think I'm maybe looking at it from the student standpoint, because I mean, I haven't really coached at all, so that's one thing, but I think I can just relate from that end. I started picking up a little bit of like mixed martial arts right there at that gym, and I was like, oh man, this is very, very, for a beginner, like super hard to get into, super naive. You don't know what you're doing, and so like I think even just having a group there in a group setting, I think that's perfectly fine. But when you perform, I think maybe it could be different, just because it's like what you're doing with your body overall. Like maybe just depends on the sport in general, because it's like you're getting just pounded on. You're just like don't know what you do with your body, while you're over here with a group setting. Like, all right, I'll know what to do if this person does this technically, and then like, okay, I'll know, boom, I'll throw the ball or something. Like, I was like, oh, I need to run this route for this way if he needs, like, so you can kind of differentiate, I think, a little bit, but. That's just speaking on the student point, and I think I agree with you on the maybe on the coach standpoint. Whenever, let's just say like you very on the running back standpoint, they were really like you would just stick with what on the running back, and then the linemen will stick on their own, quarterbacks stick on their own. Same with like outfielders or infielders, and the way that all that kind of. Yeah, you're not wrong there. So maybe on the coach standpoint,
I mean, to break it up even more, this kind of made me think of something. I don't know if this is what you were referring to originally. If you were to come in and train it by yourself,
right,
versus like a group exercise class in a group setting.
That's a good. That's also good. That's a good point.
So in that sense, I would think. And you might have felt this the other night.
I did.
I think you work a lot harder in say a group setting like that, where then it doesn't have to be a group exercise class. It can be like a boot camp.
No, but I mean that's
just having people around you.
Yes.
Kind of doing the same thing that you're doing, right? You don't want to be that person in last. You don't want to.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a good one. That's a good observation too, because you're not wrong. Like I think that really did push me. Like even though there's like a lot of women in the front, it was just me and Tommy in the back. We were just like, all right. You were even saying it like, come on, don't let the girls show you up and stuff. And I was like, man, you're not wrong. Like I'm just like, it makes me want to push harder. And it's like, okay, but that's definitely. I think that's what I was really getting at right there. Yeah. Even like because you're teaching that class, did you see it like a little different, like how from the coaching standpoint? Did you think it was
the difference of how hard people train?
Yeah,
I definitely do. If you come into a class, I think you're definitely gonna work harder than to say if I were to just give you a piece of paper with that workout on it and you were to do it by yourself.
Because you've done both, like you've done some individually,
and both. And then when people, so we can't teach class unless there's two people that show up.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because then technically it's considered personal training.
Right.
And we can't do that. So if one person does show up to class, we'll give them the workout, right? We're not just going to leave them high and dry.
Right. Yeah.
And then I'm not saying those people, they don't work hard or nothing, but then if you're the only person doing this workout, I genuinely don't think that you're going to go as hard as if there was like 3 or even 10 of you guys doing that same workout.
Oh, man, that's so weird. Because I did feel it. Like I would push myself a little bit more whenever I was there with like a lot of more people. Maybe it's just an ego thing.
It pushes me too, man.
Right. It makes you like the way that you're coaching a lot more like efficient, a lot more better and exciting. So I guess, I think that's where I was really going for, because like I haven't done a lot more of those classes unless it's like individually, like, okay, who's next or who's next. And and just staying active like that, I think is perfectly good. And maybe doing it with a group like that I think it's really good. But even just kind of like specifically like having specific training with somebody can really benefit you as a whole, like a person as a whole. Because I think that's like, how many people do y'all get? I think that's one of the questions I was like gonna
in
really
the
ask you.
classes.
Well, like how many people do you individually train throughout? I don't know how y'all like calculate them. Like day to day, I guess.
Day to day, I would say we probably have anywhere between, as little as one appointment to up to 7 or 8, just depending on the day.
Yeah. And y'all have a lot. You have a lot in y'all's staff too, because does that matter?
We have a very small team. Are you talking about how many people are
like each person gets, or is it just like overall?
Yes. No, like each person will probably get like
that much.
Yeah, I would say average it's probably like 5.
Oh, okay.
5 a day, which isn't too bad. Because obviously we still have like our other tasks to do on top of that day to day.
Yeah.
And then when we do work with somebody, we have to take another 30, 45 minutes to actually write that program out as well.
Right.
So yeah, it's probably 5 or so a day on average. And it's good. It keeps us busy. So
yeah. Every time I'm in there, dude, y'all always look like y'all getting stuff done, or y'all are always like, just the kickboxing alone. I was just like, oh damn, I guess.
Fake it till you make it,
dude. Right? Sometimes that rings true, but I mean at the same time, it's like, darn it, I'm about to regret this. No, so the last thing I really wanted to really talk to you about was the idea of the New Year's resolutions, man. Like, I think we're pretty much kind of like concluded on this, but because you're our coach, so how would you kind of go about giving somebody the ideas of, like, maybe you're starting the new year, or if you're not starting the new year, just kind of like break it down on like what to do, what to look for first.
If you're choosing your New Year's resolutions?
Yes.
I think the main thing is you have to really think about what you want to do.
Right.
In terms of long term, right? And if you don't have long term goals, I don't think that you're really, it's like, what are you waking up for? Not to say that in a bad, or say that kind of bluntly. It's like, you don't have anything to work for, right? If you don't have any goals, you have to have something to work towards.
I agree.
And I believe setting that long-term goal, and whatever it may be, 10, 15, 20 years out, 30 years out, if you want to make $1 million, that's not going to happen overnight.
It doesn't even have to be fitness. Like, I just think that's good for your mental state.
A goal.
Yeah.
And say, going off that, if your goal is to make $1 million and you have like a 30-year plan,
mm-hmm.
having that goal is going to break down into having smaller goals to get there. So rather than just saying, my goal is to make $100,000 this year, right? I think that goal is probably going to wipe out pretty quick. Whether you do or you don't make it, you get discouraged too quickly. The year goes over, the year is done, that goal is done.
Yeah.
I think having like more of a long-term goal would be more beneficial to having those smaller goals broken down. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I like what you said about it, like it makes smaller goals. Go a little bit more in depth on that.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about. So another podcaster I listen to. I don't know if
it's good to listen to podcasts.
If I'm not allowed,
you're allowed to say whatever you want, dude.
So Focus on This.
Yes.
Michael Hyatt.
I've heard of that one,
dude. Yeah, it's a great podcast.
Yes,
and I've been listening to it for probably the last month or two now. They talk a lot about goals, and one of the things they talk about is their 3x3. So it's setting these. What are your 3 long-term goals, right? The 3 biggest goals. And then listing out 3 daily and 3 weekly things. And ideally, right, these things don't have to line up, but ideally these things are going to line up. And to where if you're completing these 3 daily and 3 weekly goals,
right,
on a daily basis,
yeah,
these are going to lead you towards those 3 or that big long-term goal. In a way, does that make sense?
That makes sense. That really does.
So yeah, just going off of that, smaller goals lead to big goals. And I'm not saying count yourself short.
No.
But
so the reason I say that is because I do generally believe that you really should take account in your smaller accomplishes. Like, and I mean that in like, if you were trying to get to a certain weight goal, and I think like you hit that weight goal, and those small accomplishments, like it's probably not your end goal, 10 year, 5 year, whichever one, but it's one of those small goals that I think you should really just look at and say, I accomplished this. Like I accomplished this one thing, which makes you look at something else, or makes you look at, wait, maybe it's not about, because for me, if I'm using that example, it's like, maybe it's not about the weight. Maybe it's not about that point. It's like, maybe I'm trying to lose fat. So then it makes you look at something else. It makes you kind of like open it up to something else. And the reason I'm saying that is it's like it's those smaller ones and those smaller sort of goals that you do reach that keep you in that line, in that disciplinary role where it's like oh, okay, I'm definitely getting there. I'm definitely in the right path. And I think all of these definitely do suit me to reach that end goal. And that end goal is, maybe it's abroad. Maybe you need to define it a little bit more. Maybe it's just like an overall goal. It's like, okay, so it's like, no, I just don't want to just be fit. I was like, I want to be defined. I want to have a six pack. How do I get that? Like, it's like, it gets you very more rational.
For sure. Kind of going off of that, I think, like what you're saying, I think you have to kind of celebrate these small goals as well. That's kind of what keeps you motivated, keeps you accountable.
Right.
If you're not celebrating anything, if you have this year, 5 year, 10-year goal and you're not seeing any progress, you may be making progress, but you're not giving yourself any credit.
Exactly.
I think you'll die out pretty soon. And, as small as victory may be, an achievement is an achievement. And that kind of, I think that plays a role in your mind to maybe set a bigger goal next time, or go even harder the next week, whatever that may be.
Or even then, dude, I think it just like, it helps you realize things that you didn't realize. So like, I remember when we first talked about this, even just like not on the podcast, but just like, it's like, I also wanted to also start doing this. And like, I also wanted to, and like, that was one of your goals that you kind of wanted to do, but you didn't realize like, what if I was good at it? I didn't know how to work on it. It's like, honestly, dude, I think even just you having all this knowledge alone is perfectly good for somebody to just kind of like if you know you're good at something, kind of like excel at it, because then all of those definitely open up different doors. And I'm like, oh man, that's good. Like that's what how I see like the smaller goals kind of like definitely opening it up, and definitely kind of like make you realize like, oh, there's more to that goal than I thought that there was. So and that's why I'm like, man, dude, this is really like good for anybody. This is why like I love having people on, because like definitely like how I wanted to kind of end off the year is kind of like really talk about fitness, talk about goals, talk about like do you think there's a lot more to, I was just kind of going into this one, but do you think that there is problems with really setting a resolutionary role, like a resolution for people? Do you think that there needs to be something more involved, discipline wise? Really, that's mine. It's just discipline.
In terms of like bigger triggers, rather than just a New Year's resolution.
Yes. Like, do you think there's a lot more than just kind of like even some people don't even write it down, and I think that's a big thing, is to write it down.
Write it down.
But just to kind of like just say it, and then because a month later, once it hit February, nobody goes to the freaking gym anymore. Yeah. So, do you think that there's a lot more to it?
To be honest, I think New Year's resolutions are
a little cliche, like cliche, I know what I mean, because the reason I brought it up is I want to see how you really feel about it, I feel about it, and then really feel about it.
I don't want to vouch for like myself here, but in a way, I do set New Year's resolutions goals because my birthday's in December, so
that's so fucking perfect.
So I'll set my whole goals for the next year,
right,
for my next birthday. So it kind of lines up that way.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up though, I've always set New Year's resolutions goals because I've always been at these, New Year's Eve parties where everyone's like, "Hey, what's your New Year's resolution? What are you doing? What is your goal this year?" Things like that. And in a way, I think it kind of turns into a joke, and I think it's a lot of.
Well, they're looking for a specific answer. It's like it's not that.
Yeah,
specific.
I think it's something people feel like they have to have. Right. And when they feel like they have to have it, I don't think there is enough drive behind it. I think they, this sounds good, so let's say this.
Yes.
Does that make sense? And that's not really going to get you anywhere.
Yes, I agree with you there. In a way, they're like, it sounds good, for anything, and then like in actuality, it's like, no, you're gonna a lot of crap
Yeah.
like for like the next 3 to 4 months if you're actually serious.
How many times have you seen people at the end of the year being like,
Bro.
"Oh man, I achieved my New Year's resolution
That's
goal."
what I'm saying. Like you don't see those like you
Yeah.
don't see those on YouTube. You're like, oh,
No.
I did my New Year's resolution of
Yeah.
2018. Now it's
Yeah.
like, no, it's I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think it's that black and white.
Yeah.
And I say that like especially because I was coming to you because you're starting off like this whole monthly fitness thing for me. Is I wanted to start it off with that. It's just it takes a lot more than just kind of
Just
saying
say
it.
Yeah.
And you said you do write things down. Like,
Oh yeah.
how important do
Yeah.
you think that is?
Oh, that's huge. So
See,
I can't
because
say-
you already have like good stories right there. That's what I was like right
I
there.
can't say that I've done this my whole life. I would say recently, within the last year and a half,
Right.
2 years, I've just started writing my goals down.
Okay,
And I'll put them on my mirror. As cliche as that sounds, man.
I think that's perfectly
You know,
fine as long as you see them
I'm
every
definitely
day.
one of those people that, if I read something, I'll get super motivated and I'll be like, this is great. And I'll be super motivated for that night. I
Right.
wake up the next day in a whole funk, not feeling it anymore, totally forgetting what I read the day before. So if I take that time to, write that down and think about like, okay, what is this that I'm planning on doing, or how do I plan on getting there?
Yeah,
And if I set a deadline, right, and then actually write this down when I wake up day in and day out and I look at these list of goals that I have, I think that keeps me going, especially when it's right there on your mirror. You can't avoid looking at that.
definitely not, man. I think like you're right about like looking at them every day, and especially like having it because I would put it on like a big poster, and I kind of like have it, and like every time I walk by, I'm like I see it, I'm like, all right, man.
Dude,
Check.
It sounds so cliche.
It
man,
sounds so cliche, but it's that little things
it
that
does something in your head, man. That
Man,
I think it takes you to another level.
So is that discipline? Do you think that's discipline, or is that just a part of like just jotting down ideas, maybe having like, because it goes further than just getting a list down, but a list are definitely good for people. And I think it's just because how patternist we are as humans. I think we just look for things that bam, check.
Yeah.
It makes you feel good. It was like
For
check,
sure.
check.
Yeah.
But do you feel like do you think that's discipline, or do you think is that different? Is that something like maybe it's
I would say like definitely takes discipline. Definitely takes
Yes.
some consistency.
consistency?
Because
That's a
there's
good one.
days, there's weeks where it's like my goals kind of get out of date in terms of like my smaller goals.
Right.
So it's time to update these goals, and I'm just like, man, I really just don't feel like taking the time to sit down.
and
do
really,
this.
really looking at yourself. It's like,
But I'm sure you can relate when you sit down and do this, and then you like think it through, and the 30 minutes, the hour flies by, and then you stand up and you're like, you just get like a whole new like,
you're like, oh, did I just?
yeah, you feel ready. Like
I'm destined to do greatness. I'm
Yeah.
destined to be a millionaire.
It does good things. So when you have that consistency or the discipline to make yourself kind of stay on this track of
Yeah.
kind of writing your goals down, and whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, whatever works for you, just having something to kind of keep you on track, celebrate
Right.
the small victories, and kind of just make sure that you continuously progress. I think that's huge.
And that's just one aspect, like
For
just
sure.
that right there. Anything else you feel like that would definitely like totally like you think that you need to kind of be successful? Because I think being informed is one. Like I think having the best information for your body, your sake, that I think that's another big thing.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you agree?
In terms of being successful,
And I guess specifically speaking, maybe weight and fitness and health.
I'm sorry, say that question again.
Like, do you think that there's anything else that you think we need to be successful? And then it's like in terms of being successful, I mean, and maybe in this
Just
sort of
maybe
aspect,
fitness aspect, health.
maybe fitness aspect.
I would say the main thing, man, is just consistency.
Okay.
Obviously there's faster, more convenient, more efficient ways to get to the results you want. And I'm not talking about like anabolic steroids.
I was
or
like
anything
weight
that.
loss
I'm not
stuff
I'm
like
not
that,
talking about,
going
like, fat burning
steroids
pills.
and going
I'm talking
like
more about like doing your research and doing
yeah.
the right program, things
Yeah.
like that, rather than just hopping on a treadmill for an hour a day. But think about it. If you hop on a treadmill for an hour a day and your goal is to lose weight and you're consistent with it, you're going to lose weight. And I think the big thing is that consistency aspect of just kind of training your mind to kind of make it a habit And once it's that habit, you don't realize kind of how much progress you're making towards whether it's your health, your nutrition, your well-being, just in general, those steps that you're taking every single day that are just habit now.
Right. So, okay, so I guess the last question, I mean, we kind of rolled into another one, but it's just, what do you think fitness will actually do for the person? Like, it actually, like, for the average Joe. Man. Yeah. So what do you think it can actually benefit them?
Fitness do?
I don't know. You tell me. I mean, that's like, it's more like that. But I mean, what do you feel like, like overall, like maybe longevity, maybe I just want to hear your perspective.
Just exercise in general, though, right? Not necessarily just fitness.
Let's just go with. Is there a difference?
So in a way.
So you can start with that one.
In a way. So I mean, you can think of it like, physical activity and exercise is kind of two completely different things. You have physical activity where that's just kind of getting up, moving, getting your steps in, whatever it is that's kind of getting your heart rate up. Maybe you're breaking a sweat, kind of thing like that. It's unplanned, just kind of movement in a way.
Right.
Stretching, yoga, stuff like that. Whereas exercise or maybe fitness, is a planned, is a planned routine that you have to pursue like a certain goal, right? So if you're going to the gym, obviously you're physically active. But that's more of kind of an exercise regimen versus if you're just a naturally physically active person, if you take the flight of stairs, the extra flight of stairs every day, if you walk the extra parking lot to work every day, right? I think that's two different things of being physically active or exercising.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make, I can see how it makes sense. Yeah. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I can definitely see what you mean there. Because the reason I'm saying it does make sense, I understand where you're getting at. But at the end of it, it's like not everyone's at the same level of being active or not. So like, I feel like everybody has energy, and I think everybody has that good amount of energy to get up and go to the fridge and get a beer if they wanted to.
Sure.
So, and that involves energy.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, it's like, I'm not saying that saying they're physically able to do that. So if they're physically able to do that, now I think you can kind of really dictate how far they can go. So maybe age has a lot to do with it. Maybe it doesn't. It just, and if they have restrictions, yes or no. But I think how far they can go can definitely make a person realize what they're actually capable of doing.
Yeah.
But actually saying like, you're right. I think you're not wrong. Because maybe taking that flight of stairs is definitely what that person needs, but that can definitely be the same as somebody that is a little bit more active or has no restrictions, and say that they can definitely run those stairs instead of walking those stairs. That's how I see it. So,
I see where you're coming from.
So you know what I mean? I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think there's a lot more with how I see somebody like pursuing, because all I think from there is, are they looking at it as an excuse to not do it, or are they like, you know what I mean? So
well, let me ask you this. So
I love it. It's like, okay.
If you say, I don't know how big into like backyard sports you are now. Say if you're going out and playing football with the boys, playing basketball, 2, 3, 4 times a week.
Okay.
Would you consider yourself physically active? You're out for an hour, 2 hours a day.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's physical activity, right? Yes. That's not necessarily, you're not doing that you might be doing it for exercise, but that's not a planned exercise regimen versus someone who, has a strict game plan where they're going to the gym do you think 2 hours every day after work. That's more of exercise.
Okay. But do you think that that goes to the person though? Like the person's willing to go out there
and what they're interested in. If they
that's
want
what
to use
saying.
Basketball as exercise,
right? And because I'm saying it like maybe because now we're just looking. I want to look more into is like, what is he eating? What is he doing? Like maybe he has a little bit more energy on like hormonally, or if the other person just in general isn't doing the same things that he is. Because then from there, I think it goes a little bit more deeper than how I look at it. But I know that all of that involves energy. All of that involves somebody like actually wanting to do sort of thing. So I'm looking at it from like, is there motivation and to do it? Is that there? And now I look at it is that person that's not doing it motivated not or less motivated than this guy that is going out and doing it. You know what I mean? That's how
I'm with you.
So you understand where I'm not saying you're wrong, because I think you're right. And I'm like, but like now I'm just kind of like, is that all an effect on the fact that he's going out and playing every day? Is that a consistent thing that he has a little bit more motivation than the guy that isn't?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's weird, but yes.
Don't get me wrong though. You can definitely use exercise as like your maybe you love basketball.
I agree. I 100% agree
and
there.
I love that, man.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
If you tell me you wanna play ball, or you wanna swim, or you wanna walk around Disney for your exercise,
let's fucking go.
Please do.
Let's do it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like and that's why I think it gets a little bit more construed on how overall how I think of it and how like define and like yeah. But no, that's a very good point, because that's the first time I'm like, ooh, I like that. I like that point of view. Yeah. No, man, and definitely I think you're not wrong, because definitely I think a lot of people do need a little bit more exercise than what they perceivably see on a day-to-day. Like so even just looking at it from that little standpoint, from like exercise, is that enough to kind of get you sustainable longevity wise, like life wise? I think if you're doing that and you're excelling at it, then do it. Like I think that is definitely going to be overall going to give you a little bit more energy to kind of look more in. So that can be a benefit. I think you're right. You're right. Do you think, is there anything else you feel like that does, like just being active or exercising? Do you think there's other benefits
in terms of different things you can do?
Yes. Not it doesn't even have to be health wise or fitness wise or just exercise, but
hit me with the question again. I'm sorry.
So do you think that there's a lot more that exercise can do for the person, maybe for their well-being, their brain, their like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. This is going back to the thing, like what exercise can't do, right?
That can do for you.
Yeah, what can't it do though?
Oh
right?
yeah, what can it do? That's what your answer was. Yeah.
Man, it gives you so much energy. I think it boosts your confidence. It helps you sleep better. It increases your appetite. Not that that's always a good thing.
Yes.
Some people they're just so sick. Their energy levels are so low. They just don't have that appetite.
Yeah, man.
If they do have an appetite, they go straight for fast food or sugar cravings, right?
Dude, I think we all do. Even like us, even being so active. Yeah. Man, sometimes I just do it.
Yeah. I do it too. Don't get me wrong. If I go 2 or 3 days without going to the gym, or even if I slip up one time and have some candy, man, I just want like sweets.
Something right there. Yeah, but that definitely does. It does happen, dude. It does.
Yeah. No, the exercise does wonders, man.
Man, it does.
It can. I always tell people, when you're sick, just go out and sweat it out.
Sweat it out.
Yeah.
Dude. I kind of agree with that, but because okay, the reason it literally took me back to like whenever I was playing football and when I was sick and you had no other choice because you still had to go and do the workouts and stuff, and like my nose would clear out. It would like, because I would be stuffy, my head would be hurting. It's the morning, you're too cold, then you get a little bit of sweat going, you're a little warmer, you feel okay, your head stops hurting, and I'm like, that's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
So
well, you get all these endorphins and just the dopamine in your head that just goes crazy, man, when you exercise, and I think that just helps you on so many other levels in terms of your productivity, your mindset towards life, your mindset towards yourself.
Yes.
All that.
Yeah. So fitness, and it does wonders for everybody, and I think that's. Just staying active, going out and doing some things. I think it gives you that much energy to keep going. Like it gives you a lot more energy to maybe brainstorm, to get ideas. And I think it just having that whole idea of that sort of right energy can actually do a lot more benefits for your mind and how creative you think and stuff like that.
Let me bring up this example. Have you ever been trying to write down notes or trying to think of something and
you get foggy?
You get stuck.
Yes, man. Yes,
I do this all the time when I'm writing programs, and it's just like, all right, maybe I just need to get up, walk around for a couple minutes. Yeah. I'll sit back down and I feel refreshed.
Man, I totally agree with you there. Yes. Yeah. And see, and like how you said, like even coffee and stuff like that, like I agree to the T that like if just staying active can literally give you that brain function. It gives you that like, okay, just thinking clearly, like just saying things clearly, like the way you speak, the way you actually present yourself, that all that confidence, it all definitely rolls over into like all this to all these different benefits. And like even just because I don't know what else you do, like let's just say health wise, because I started looking at intermittent fasting, and so that was just it was a little bit short, like 6 months. I think that's short, and in those 6 months, I definitely, my mind brought like that, no more fog, no more, a little bit more clearer. I had so many notes and jotted down. Everything was much more clear. So when I hit that point, now it started getting me to look at different things and look at different carb cycling, bringing back in carbs, getting that meat back in, feeling great about myself, getting that muscle back in. It brought that momentum back. Yeah. So coffee was one of them. Like I think, and I want to have an episode about coffee. Like I've been looking at some of the people, but coffee can definitely do some wonders. And the same with tea, and just having those things, definitely like in the morning or in the afternoon, having that like for your workouts. I never thought of that being so good for your body before or after, but black, like I'm not saying add all that sugar.
That's what I was going to ask.
No, I drink it black, man.
Okay.
But I love the taste. I love, like, it's kind of like beer. Like I look at it and I'm like, I don't know.
For me, it was more of like an acquired taste.
Yeah.
I hated it at first.
I hated it at first, bro. And
I'm
then
hooked now.
I'm hooked.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a drug, but it's at the same time, it's like, there's such an art to it that same with tea, that there's like so many, and it's just like you can definitely go into all these different ideas and realms of tea and coffee, and it's just like, whoa, how that's so cool. But no, that's definitely what like just staying fit and doing like all these things definitely can do for the body, and definitely can do to benefit the body. I think that's all really good, and people can excel at it. I think people are certainly capable of doing it. But I don't know, man. Anything else before we kind of like ended it? Because I think we concluded a lot, and I think that's what's really good there.
I think the main thing, man, is if you're on the fence about any kind of physical activity, exercise, whatever it is, man, you don't have to have this drawn out structure 2 hours a day after work going into a gym to be physically active or to be fit or to get healthier.
I agree.
I think just having these, mini goals like we talked about, 20, 30 minutes a day, light to moderate activity, whether it's walking, whether, it's a brisk walk, whether you're doing a hobby you love, gardening, whatever it is, just something to kind of get you off the couch or up and moving out of the desk, something like that.
Definitely.
It is going to do you wonders. If you're sitting here torturing yourself every day in the gym, that's not something that's going to last.
Exactly.
Granted, if you love the gym, that's good for you. But if you genuinely just don't like being in the gym, you feel awkward, you just feel insecure, and a lot of people do, and they force themselves to do that kind of thing. That kind of habit doesn't last. I think you have to find something that you thoroughly enjoy, and kind of just run with that. And it doesn't have to be for hours and hours a day. It shouldn't be a chore.
That's a good point. I definitely agree with that, man. And we're going to conclude it there, man. I think we hit on a lot of key points that I wanted to hit on, and you definitely chimed in, and we're definitely involved with a lot of these questions. And I think that was actually a really good episode right here, guys. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dustin White. This is going to conclude our episode right now, guys. Do you want to just tell them where they can find you? Because I honestly didn't even ask you beforehand.
I'm not big on social media, but if you want to show me some love, dwight.02 on Instagram.
Yes.
Give your boy a follow.
There you go. Give your boy a follow. If you guys are in the area, you need a little bit more motivation, and you're cast members, go check out the gym, guys. Go check out Dustin. Go check out the crew over there. They can definitely help you guys reach some of your goals that you're looking for, especially starting off the new year. I wanted to kind of like chime that out for everybody that's out there that is in the Orlando area and our cast members, to go check it out. If you have any questions, guys, just let us know. Dustin definitely will still help out anybody that does have any questions. But folks, thanks for tuning in with us. This is Johnny Reviews. Dustin, if you just want to just wave at the camera, just say everybody goodbye.
Peace.
Thank you, guys. Love you. I'll see you later.